The easiest way I think to describe it is that there's a number of major cultural differences between the top 20% and the middle 50%. We've been talking about the middle 50%. The top 20% is very cosmopolitan, and that's a way that by cosmopolitan, I mean we have a taste for cultures, food, religions not our own. There's a joke which I love. What do you call, Andy, what do you call a Jew in California?
I don't know. What do you call a Jew in California?
A Buddhist. Because, embracing the religion of your youth is so down market, it doesn't display your high human cultural capital. But embracing Buddhism, that just shows you're a thinking person, you're sophisticated. Um, by the way, I mean, Buddhism, like all religions, it has wonderful parts and it has pretty terrible parts, like Christianity, like Judaism. I mean, Buddhist activists were at the center of the genocide in Myanmar. But there's this, if it's a religion that's not your own, you look at it through rosy-colored lens. If you look at it that it's a religion you grew up in, then that's just a sort of down market taste. I've actually developed something that you folks might find fun. It's called the new class bubble quiz. Andy, we should have arranged to give people the new class bubble quiz.
Send a copy through.
Um, it's just 10 questions, and it will tell you which of these two classes you're in, whether you're in the middle 50 or whether you're in the top 20. And there's one question that is very predictive of whether you graduated from university, whether your parents graduated from university, and whether you're liberal. And that is which kind of restaurant do you prefer? A family restaurant that gives large portions of traditional favorites, or a truly authentic ethnic restaurant. And if you're in the top 20%, you have a strong preference for the ethnic restaurant, cosmopolitan tastes. It's a way of displaying your high cultural capital. Um, but workers, they tend not to be cosmopolitan. They tend to be very rooted for very, very good and sufficient reasons that stem from the logic of their lives. Number one, this group typically gets their jobs through dense local clique networks. They typically get their elder care and child care, and help fixing the roof for the motorcycle, through these dense local networks. Um, that's also how this group gets its social honor, because I mean, my crowd, we get our social honor through our jobs. I can show up in, London or Korea or Copenhagen or Seoul, and I'm still a distinguished professor. My social honor is portable. But if you sell tires or are a greeter in a store, your social honor, you want to hang around people who you've known forever, who know that you're not just the tire guy. Um, and the other big difference, and your example here of Gary Neville really highlights this, is that non-elites tend to be more patriotic than elites are. Because their imagined community, my imagined community, as I've just said, I grew up partly in Venezuela. My imagined community is global. But for people who didn't grow up partly in Venezuela, their imagined community is quite local, or at most it's national. And so there's a pride in patriotism for because for a very human reason, every group tends to stress the high status groups they belong to. That's why I have this in back of me. I'm an old New England WASP. I own etchings. But and that's why my crowd stresses we're members of a global elite. We stress class because that's our high vector. But if you don't have that, one of the only high status categories, for example, remember the Full Monty? Remember that
Yeah,
movie? One of
Sheffield.
the only high status categories those former factory workers belonged to was that they were English. So they stress that category. And again, this very human taste is then belittled by the Brahmin left as being evidence of racism and ethno-nationalism. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it is. But sometimes it's just this very human instinct of stressing your high status category.